in the condition that I'm in now, Ray. I don't know why. I don't think I could even get on the bull. Hey, Seth. I hear heels. Yeah. About to. No, you're on camera now. Yeah. Yes. All right, guys, we'll get started. I'm sure we're on live, whatever you want to call it now. We're thankful that we can still do that. And I hear a lot of talk about people watching that are at home, and talked to Lindsay last night, and her neighbor next door still watches us each week, and I appreciate that. But I do want to stress to people who are at home, some of you I know have to stay home because of health reasons and things like that. So this is a good ministry for that. But if you don't have a church home, those people who are watching us live stream and have been watching us, or if you're visiting today watching us, we encourage you, if you can, come see us and join our group. And we'd love to have you here, and an open invitation to anybody who can come. And we want people to know we're here. We want people to know that we are a Bible teaching church. And that's what we believe in first and foremost. And if you need a church, come see us. And those of you who have come today that hadn't been here in a while, we're glad to see y'all. Glad to have everybody here. It's slowly filling up, Dennis. Slowly filling. The last bus must have just got here. I remember those days standing in front of Rose City Junior High, and the last bus would show up, and you knew it was time to go to school. And so it's time to get started this morning. We'll start with our prayer list as we do each week. And as I go through these, if you have updates, just shout them out, okay? Some of them are family and friends that you know and have asked me to add to this list. First and foremost, I've got Maggie. Had been off the last 2 or 3 days. I talked to Joe Friday. I think I posted on our group me Joe's text to me about she's got a few days where she's going to get to be free and easy, and then she starts next week. And I think out of the next 20 days, I think she spends 15 or 16 days, something like that, in the hospital. So with treatments and surgery coming up, so let's please pray for Maggie. I saw a picture of her, and they may be watching this morning, I don't know, but I saw a picture of Maggie the other day with some of her friends from school, and she just looked beautiful, And I told Maggie one time a couple of weeks ago, I said, you make this look good. But that Maggie smile is what wins people over. And that's what keeps her going. It's what keeps Joe and Heather going. And Ty. So remember her, Miss Ann Head, we love you, and we're glad you're here again this week. Rebecca, you too. Pretty decent report last week, yeah. And we'll keep praying for that. The treatments start Monday? Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we love you guys, and we keep you in our prayers and our hearts all the time. Good to see you here. Miss Linda continues to ask for prayer for her friend Debbie Donovan with the grandson who has cancer. Brother Mike, continue to remember Brother Mike, Sister Linda. Got a couple of doctor's visits coming up this week, so he needs your prayers, and he covets your prayers as well. Bill Whitlock, Dennis and I were talking before class. Brother Bill's doing real well. I wish I knew what he was taking so I could get some of it. And Miss Beverly's had a little breathing issue this morning. She might not be here today, but let's keep those wonderful people in our prayers too. Betty Rambo has finished her treatments and is at home, of course. And remember her and Brother Bill. Betty Kingston. Some of these I'll just read because I haven't had an update on them. Bobby and Charner Franklin, they watch us every week. And we love Sister Bobby and Brother Charner. The Shacklins, what a wonderful pair. We miss them. We understand, but we miss them. We want you to know that we still have you in our prayers and our hearts. McGugan's the same thing. Becky, any updates you want to give us? Okay. All right. We'll continue to lift up the McGugans. Berta DeBerry, been here the last 2 or 3 weeks. Been good to see her back. Done really well with her surgery. Cindy Rector, better with some heart issues that they're keeping an eye on. Lindsay Tankersley, this last week with her mom, Vicki Stovall. She was with her last weekend. Of course, her mom is going through cancer treatments. Continue to lift them up. And then she had a friend of hers that had a house fire during the week last week, and they lost everything, and including her friend's father, who was in the house and couldn't get out. So please lift this family up. The Veseys, the Rakes. My half-brother, Henry Harmon, is still in UAMS, doing better, but now they're talking about sending him to acute care and possibly even going home pretty quick after that. So y'all keep remembering Henry. I put Dennis and Tanya back on our list. Tanya's mom. Some of us don't haven't experienced that. Some of us have taken care of a parent, and it's tough. It changes your whole life, and it takes you on paths that you didn't know you were going to go on. And so I know by saying all that, I know Dennis and Tanya appreciate the prayers. Janelle, Steve, and Becky, and Ray, all you guys, the same thing. We understand. Good to see. I saw Miss Janelle in the hall, though. That's good. Ray, good to see all of you guys back today. Jason, I had Carolyn had a surgery this week. Is that right? Yeah. She's still doing good. Debbie had sent out a text. Okay. Carolyn, that's Dudley's sister. Keep her in your prayers. Gary and Edith Bennett asked that we lift them up, and it's basically a unspoken request. Health issues, but they need prayer. And they called me yesterday and asked me to put that on our group me. And so, we don't need to know why. We know the one who knows why. So we're going to leave it at that. Jack Howard, his mother had fallen a couple of weeks ago, broke a hip, and she has gotten, her name is Paula Womble, and she had gotten worse after that. And so they're just keeping her comfortable at home. So remember Jack, they were going to, I believe it's Alabama last week to see her. Y'all remember Jack and Pam as they cared for her. Pam Howard at the same time asked me to put her nephew and baby Will on our prayer list as well. Angel Duncan, man, it's a long list, isn't it? A lot of needs. Angel Duncan's boss has a friend whose wife was diagnosed with cancer, and they only gave her days to live. And they got a 14-year-old daughter. So let's lift this family up. Kendall has a friend that had their first baby. Her name is Ashley. And the baby went directly to NICU. It was very early. And she sent a text yesterday or this morning that said that Audrey, the mom, for the first time got to see the baby. And that's got to be so tough to finally touch your baby that you've carried all that time with those gloves through the glass box. So let's lift this family up too. How about you guys? Mm-hmm. Mm.
And 4 hours out of a 7-hour day, I'm holding this child in my arms, in a bear hut.
Yeah.
Trying to calm him down, get him from throwing chairs,
Yeah.
hitting the wall, and kick the wall, and hitting me.
Yeah.
for this child to be able to.
Yeah.
I can't do
I
anything
understand.
to help this child. Because I had him when he was 3 and I now have him when he's 5.
Okay.
There isn't past the child that something has occurred in the family unit.
Yeah.
Because of this child.
Okay.
And I could fix it.
Well, we know we can hear in your voice that you have a deep, deep love for this child, and we can hear in your voice that you have a.
And it hurt.
You're hurting. You're hurting for this child too, Becky. We appreciate that.
And it's been tortured for months.
Okay. Thank you, Becky. We won't ask any names. We won't do any of that. We just know the need, right? Okay.
It's an urgent need.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Becky. How about others?
I have a family friend from my hometown who went on a vacation with his wife to Europe, and when they were trying to come back, he tested positive for COVID. And so he was quarantined, and now he's hospitalized. His wife is not allowed to see him. She's come back, and it's been over 7 days, and they're not releasing him. And so his name is Terry Adams. So if you all will keep him in your prayers, because right now all his family's here in the United States. He's stuck in Europe and unable to come home, and they're not releasing him anytime soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brittany.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brittany. Okay. Anybody else? That's good. That's fine. Let's get it out. While you're thinking, how about unspoken requests? Numerous as always. Okay. Anyone else?
As long as this list is, if we really took the time, our praise list would be longer than this.
Yeah.
We're all here.
Good point.
Things are very serious and a lot of people hurting, but the Lord is still good to us.
Yes, He is. Yes, He is. Becky brought this child up this morning, and we'd gone over to Lindsay's last night after they had got home from a softball game, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I can't, but Casey and Brittany Green, that's Ricky Green's son, had a child with them that literally broke Lily and Lindsay's heart being with them last night. He had on his Green and Chapman jersey just like the rest of the kids and calling everybody daddy. And it's heartbreaking to know what these children go through and what they see that we have no idea. And some of them are fortunate enough to have people like Becky and Casey and Rachel that want to love those kids. That's a praise. That's a praise. What else we got, guys?
My sister had
that's right.
a procedure and it came back that it was a good thing.
Yeah,
So
that's Debbie had let us know on GroupMe that and I noticed Debbie's text said, God is good. And He sure is, isn't He? Okay. Any other prayer requests, announcements? Bible school's coming, guys. Awana's awards was last Wednesday, and I was so impressed to see all those kids and those wonderful people who are working with our Awanas and the directors and this church for sponsoring it. And it's amazing. And the good crowd, and to hear those kids singing those songs and saying those verses, and to hear their accomplishments of some of those kids have 40 and 50 verses they've memorized. It's just what a blessing it was. What a blessing. Bible school's coming, and it can be just as much a blessing. Pray for lost souls. For not just for our Awanas, not for Bible school, but for this morning down here, down the hall. If someone's lost and they're in the sound of our voice today, we want to get them saved.
That's right.
Okay? Rick, open us, please. Amen. Thank you, Rick. I couldn't help but think about what Jason just said about how long our prayer list is. Those prayer requests come to you. This class and people, even people who are not in our class or on our group meeting, they come to us because they trust you to know that you're going to take it to the Lord. Good, bad, or otherwise, you're going to take it to the Lord. And I appreciate you for that as a class and as a church. We're back with Moses and his farewell address to this surviving new generation that's going into the promised land. And you'll remember that in the last few weeks we've talked about Moses has basically gone back over a lot of things that were in the other books that he had written on record. He went over about how much God loves his people, why he loves his people. He also last week he reminded us as to we have to show our love back to God, right? It's a two-way street. I kept going back to one word for this week, and it was change. Change. Because once we become a Christian, there's a change that's supposed to happen in our life, right? I mean, it's supposed to be, and it's not a secret change. You know, it should be something that everybody that you know at work, school, on the golf course, on the lake, at the jail, wherever you are, not just at church. They ought to see it at church too, but not just here. But people ought to see that there's something different about you. And some of us, it's a big difference. And some of us, it's not. It's a subtle difference. You know, I know a lot of people I grew up with that were decent people before they ever got saved. I know some people right now who are some good people. They may not be saved, but they're good people. So it's a subtle change. They still need salvation. They still need the change. And then there's people like, some of us understand what I'm talking about, right? Huh? It was a big change. But this change, first of all, how well do you guys like change? This guy right here, I love this guy because he's got the same affliction I do. I know you do. And then it's not just our good looks, is it? Brittany said, But you know, I like things in order. I don't like nobody messing with my plans. I don't like to not be able to find something. Go out and work. I put in lights yesterday all day long at the house. And I know where my stuff is, Rick. I know where my stuff's supposed to be. And it takes me twice as long to do a job because my stuff's not where it's supposed to be. I got to find it. And it's always one of those things that you got to do 5 steps to get 1 step done. Like clean out the storage room so you can run the wiring, because Becky moved everything from the house when we got the floors put in into the storage room and didn't tell me. So I opened the door. I can't even get in. So I got to clean it up to get to the, you understand what I'm saying? I don't like those kind of changes. We normally never like changes. Churches hate changes. My goodness gracious alive. We hate to change hymnals. We hate to, man, sometimes that right there can blow a church up. There you go. I'm going to tell you, it sounds crazy, but it's true. The color, the fact that it's got chrome trim, where it's sitting, and who's sitting in it. And yeah, good point. It's not a pew, And don't sit in it if you don't belong there. We don't want no kind of change in church, man. We want 3 songs, take up the offering. I may have that out of order. You know what I'm saying? We want to know what to expect when we come to church. We're going to do it this way because we did it that way 45, 50 years ago. Don't change it. There's all kinds of different kind of changes, but right now we're talking about personal change because that's what Moses is talking to these people about. And the very first group of verses are pretty strong stuff that we're going to read this morning about change. These people should be changed because God loved them. They're God's people. This is an Old Testament story, so there's no saving grace involved in this right now. Not yet. Jesus has not come on the scene. He's there, but he hadn't come on the scene yet. And Moses is instructing these people, and the first thing he is instructing them to do is to commit to holiness. Commit to holiness. I mentioned a few times before, us Christians, we get a little nervous with the word holy. We don't want to come off as too holy. Does that make sense? I don't want to be holier than thou. I don't want to come off that way that Ray, I'm better than you because I'm holier than you are. We don't. So we're worried about that line to cross. Holiness should be living inside of us. But it should come out in a way, in different scenarios, different situations where people understand that you are holy. Does that make sense? In other words, Dennis, I'm picking on Dennis because I can. You got a group of guys playing golf, and it's a 4-man scramble. Some of you may know what that is, some of you may not. Doesn't matter, not important. And in other words, there's 4 guys there that you really don't know each other that well. Okay? And this one guy he's having a terrible day. And he is cussing, and he is throwing clubs, and he is dumping his bag out, mad, kicking his bag.
You talking about Dennis? Somebody else.
We're going to mention any names.
Oh, okay. I knew you wasn't.
Y'all see what's happening here. And then there's the other 3 guys that may be or may not be church. And then there's the one guy in that group that's church, that's Christian. And he's just standing back, letting it go. He's not condemning that guy. He's not going at that guy, Steve, and saying, man, you shouldn't be doing that. God doesn't want... He's not doing that, but he's doing his own thing. He's showing his own holiness by not participating, not joining in, not condemning, but really feeling sorry for that guy. That's holiness in a way. That's holiness. God, and not only that, that group, the one Christian man in that 4-man group who is a Christian, he didn't want any part of that kind of life.
There's ways that you can deal with it.
Yeah.
I like it. We've had that happen, guys.
I know you have.
Then he has a bad hole and he throws his club, and he's a younger guy.
Yeah.
Get to the next couple of holes, I may hit a bad shot, and I said, honey, come here. From arm range, would you throw my club? I'm afraid.
That's right. Ways to deal with it. There's ways to deal with it. That's right. But really, but the main part is you don't want to be like that. When you do have that bad hole or that bad time, you don't want to respond the same way that guy did, because you are holy. God's plan for us, to His people, and for us in the New Testament church, His plan was for us to become Christians, saved by the blood of His Son, Jesus Christ, who died for us. And from that moment on, we are a work in progress. Holiness doesn't just happen, does it? Just because I got saved, does that make me holy? There's a whole lot of stuff, and we could spend hours on justification and sanctification and all those things. But that's the work in progress to be holy. And it's a work in progress for you to be holy and stay away from unholy things. And that's what Moses, the first thing he's going to tell these people this morning. They're going into this new land. This new land is just like the land they left that they were enslaved in. It had idols everywhere. They worshipped everything aside from God. And what's more peculiar about this group, this land that they're going into now, their biggest thing was, y'all are adults, I'm just going to tell you, their biggest thing in this land was promiscuity, adultery, sex, and all those things. They worship that stuff. Moses has got to prepare these people before they go there, and listen to what he says. He reminds them in the first verse, Deuteronomy chapter 12, Deuteronomy chapter 12, we'll read verses 1 through 3. I'll give you a second to turn there. He reminds them in the very first verse, because he just reminded them of the statutes and laws, again, that God gave them. These are the statutes and judgments which ye shall observe to do in the land. That's the new land that they're going to, which the Lord God of thy fathers giveth thee to possess it, all the days that ye live upon the earth. He told them, remember the laws, but remember the promise too. He's going to let you live there forever. Verse 2 is where it really hits the pavement. Ye shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which ye shall possess serve their gods, upon the high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree. And ye shall overthrow their altars and break their pillars and burn their groves with fire, and ye shall hew down the graven images of their gods and destroy the names of them out of that place. That's a pretty strong command, isn't it? Not only are you going to go into this new land that God has promised you, and you're going to get to live there forever because God gave it to you, He wants them to remove anything that is unholy from their path. Boy, now wouldn't that be something if we could do that now? I say it'd be a good thing. But you know us, we'd take it too far. You know, we always do as a human race. We take things like that too far. He expected these people, though, when they got into this land, tear out that stuff. Get rid of it. Burn it. Cut it down. Remove it. And he didn't just say some of it. He said all of it. Guys, that's what he tells us as Christians when we become Christians. Get rid of all that in your life. Because now you're going to be holy to me, holy to the world. And if you've got one little speck, Moses is telling these people that if you take out 99 temples and leave one, what's going to happen? Everybody's going to flock to that one. Okay, eventually you're going to be tempted to go back to that one. And the same thing applies to us in our lives when we become Christians. You get rid of the alcohol, you get rid of the desire to have alcohol or drugs, you get rid of the porn, you get rid of all that stuff in your life. Totally. Not one speck left over, because God knows that His people are weak here, and He knows that His people right here today are weak as well. And if we got that porn in our house, if we got that sin in our house or at our job, and we profess to be Christians and we don't get rid of it totally, we're going to be drawn at some point in time to go back to that. Pick it back up. We talk all the time about taking these prayers to God and leaving them with Him. What do? We pick them back up. We'll do the same thing with sin if it's there for us. He's telling, and can you imagine the people that are standing there listening to Moses? He wants us to go in there and tear down. Y'all remember when Desert Storm, when they tore down the statue and all that? That's what he's telling them to do. When you get in this land, you hook ropes to those idols. He said hew them down, cut them down at the base. Don't leave anything that anybody can even see that it was there. Because what he didn't tell them is your God knows that you're weak, and your God knows that you're going to go back to that and try to make something out of that again. Anybody got any comment on what I'm talking about here? I know when I was younger, I was drawn to want to drink. I was drawn to do this. I was drawn to want to party. I wanted to draw to do. You have to cut that stuff completely out to be holy. You have to cut that stuff out completely. When you became Christians, did you lose any friends? You might not have lost them as contacts, or having a conversation with occasionally, or seeing them at a reunion or something like that. But I mean, they don't call you anymore to go do anything. Right? And not only that, you don't want them to call you anymore to go do those things if that's what they're calling you for. But now if they're calling you to talk to you about Jesus, I'm on board. Let's get it done. It'll cost you something to be a Christian. It'll cost you reputations. It'll cost you jobs. It'll cost you friends. Sometimes it might even cost a marriage. Yeah. Because maybe you got into the marriage in the wrong way in the first place, and both of you weren't believers. That sounds tough, but it's true. It'll cost you something. But every one of those things that I just listed for you that it will cost you, if you stay holy and you stay close to God, you're going to get those things back tenfold. He's going to give them back to you. I lost a job that I had for 33 years, Rick. And it wasn't about religion. But he took me out of a place where I couldn't function. I couldn't do some of the things that were planned to do. And I couldn't go along with this and that and the other. And he put me in a different place. So I could do for him. I mean, we have prayer meeting every morning at work. Who can say that? Some of you can, but I'm saying, think about that. And where I was, you really didn't want to talk about religion with anybody because they hated you because of your religion. Not religion, but your faith. Your Jesus. You'll lose some things to be a Christian. But the things that you lose are the things that he's telling them to get rid of in the first place. Idols. What do we classify idols as? What's an idol?
Man, anything that takes you away from God.
Anything. Now, when we say anything, what do we mean?
Kids, jobs,
Yeah. Money.
Hey, I saw one at the gas station this morning, and it was Brother Mike talked about it last week. And the dad had on his ball uniform. This is going to hurt some feelings because Brother Mike said the same thing. And he's filling up the ice chest, and he's got the car packed with. And the little boy is probably 6 or 7 in the front seat, and I'm thinking, man, this dude just like they're going to a ball something on a Sunday, and it's just broke my heart.
That right there falls under a lot of categories of idols. It can be the idol of your kid.
That's right.
It can be the idol of ball. It can be the idol of reliving his past through his child. It can be food. When we say anything, we mean anything. Everything. Because we can put anything in front of God. And it starts so small, doesn't it? Well, it's just this one tournament this year. We've all been there. We've all been faced with those decisions and those challenges. And it ain't just ball. It can be anything. It can be fishing. It can be golf. It can be trips. Trips are fine. Everybody likes to take a trip. Everybody needs a vacation. And God expects us to relax ourselves, collect ourselves from the world we live in. I believe that. But you get right back home and you get back in church. And when you're on that vacation, when Sunday comes around, what are you doing? Well, nowadays we can watch it. But even before that, husband and wife, family, you need to spend a little time in the Word of God while you're on vacation. It don't hurt. You guys were talking about that very thing, about going to the lake. And I can remember going to the lake on some weekends, and man, there'd be 50 people there from church.
We had 4 Sunday school teachers there.
Yeah, exactly. And go down you're talking about a sweet service. You go down there by the lake, and what God has created, and you sit around together and you sing. You sing the songs, and somebody brings a devotional. It's special. But you're on vacation.
And then, one of the best vacations, we used to go on vacation with Harold and Jennifer. Well, I like getting out on the patio early in the morning and drink coffee and read my book. Kristen, she's small. Kristen Mullins started coming out here with me. And it's been a couple years ago now that she told me how much she remembers doing that with me. It's not my daughter, but
Right.
I enjoyed having it.
Sure.
But even though you're on vacation, you still have to walk the walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate her.
Yeah. Because you can use vacations as an idol. Go
I'll
ahead.
never forget him and Kelsey doing that when we went to the lake with them.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell you that, but I remember y'all doing that every morning, reading the Bible together.
See what's happening here, guys?
Oh, yeah.
Is somebody, whether they advertised it or not, was being holy. Holiness was in them. And they showed it to others. And others joined in. That's what he's telling them to do. But first Moses says you got to get rid of all that unholy stuff. Get rid of it. Every bit of it. Every speck. Chapter 14. So he commands us to be holy, and then he asks his people, and he asks us to remember your identity. Who are you? Remember who you are. Remember not only who you are, but who lives inside you. That's your identity. I mean, I know all of you. I know who you are. Most of you have known basically my whole life. I identify you by your name, and I know what you do, and I know your family. But I really identify you because of who lives inside of you. I've known Rick for, good Lord, 40 plus. Dennis. Some of you I've known only a few years. But when it comes to knowing you, some people I know for 40 years, right? Some people that I've only known 5, 6 years. The feeling is the same because of the identity I have because of what you have living inside of you. Remember your identity. Now we're going to read some scripture, okay, Roz? All right. Here we go. Chapter 14, verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. Some people may take offense to be called peculiar. I hope I don't. What does peculiar mean? What's that, Rick? Come on. Yeah. There's something. Now, I remember when I was a kid, when a teacher would tell my parents, there's something different about your boy. I knew what they meant. Now, I want somebody to tell everybody else, there's something different about that guy. He's peculiar in that way. You know, do you ever stop and think that we're a kingdom of priests? The Bible says that we are a kingdom of priests. All of us that are saved. And they're in God's army, as the little kid's song says. We are priests. I'm not talking about across the road kind of priest. I'm talking about the priest in your life. You're for you and your family and those you come in contact and those you have a influence. Thank you. I couldn't get the word out. Influence with. And you're peculiar because of that. Are you peculiar at work? And you got to remember, don't take this in a negative connotation. This is peculiar in a good way. Because, people have been saying I've been peculiar for a long time. Beth thinks I'm peculiar because I like history. Don't you, Beth? And I always, when I bring something into the lesson for history, I always want to make sure Beth is listening. Because I know it bugs her. Because I'm peculiar that way. Becky thinks I'm peculiar. Yeah. Man, I put them lights in yesterday. And it's hot. I'm digging. I'm wiring. I'm dirty. I'm nasty. Becky's in and out all day long. Saturday's her day to run, man. So she comes by about halfway through the project, Brett. Halfway through. But I'm already well into it. And she walks by and gets out in front of the bed and let me get this straight. Well, she's got my attention. So you're going to put a light for every column and then some more over here, right? Yes, that's the plan. And you got the right color lights, too. I've already had these lights for 3 years. She said, you got the right color light. I don't want them bluish looking. And I looked at her and I said, why you come by here halfway through the project asking me what's... Because she said, I know sometimes you don't know what your plan is and what you're doing. Jason, I got sweat dripping off my nose. I'm dizzy. I'm hot. Almost got aggravated. Well, Becky thinks of me sometimes as being peculiar as in stupid. You can. Thanks, Steve. But then when I get through, she's usually okay with the finished product. But what gets me is that she wants me to do something, and I bet I'm not going to point any fingers, but I'm wondering how many of you ladies do the same thing. She wants me to do something, but she wants to tell me how to do it. Yeah, I want you to do this, this, and this. And then while I'm doing it, well, why are you doing it that way? What are you going to use over here? And 2/3 of the time, I could tell her what I'm going to do, and she doesn't understand what I'm talking about because she doesn't know materials and think. But she thinks I'm peculiar or stupid. Oh, I must have went to bed. I didn't hear that. Oh no, she's supposed to ask permission on those kind of things. Put me on the inner world. But yeah, people can take the word peculiar and go in a negative way. But this peculiar is a good thing. Guys, you better be peculiar. You better be peculiar in everything you do. Hey, from not only just working for a living, but being a family person. You better be peculiar in your family. You better be peculiar in your business dealings. Right, Rick? Because I'm telling you guys, the temptation is strong in business. Anything you're doing for somebody else to take little shortcuts and do, you better be peculiar. And do it to the best of your ability and thank God that He's letting you do it. Be peculiar. I want us all to walk out of here today and remember, I'm peculiar. Let's say it together. I'm peculiar. And why are you peculiar? Because Jesus lives in you. And then peculiar in this situation is a good thing. Because, Jason, what did you say the definition of peculiar is? Something different? Boy, don't we need some different now. And don't we need to spread different wherever we go? Different in the rest. Man, people are so mean with each other today. People hate each other. And we need to, and it's easy to fall into it when you're tired and hot and sweaty, or when you're stressed, or when you're broke and you're paying $18 a gallon for gas with a sticker on there that says I did it. Anyway. And another one beside it that says I helped. I didn't mention any names, Rick, because I'm peculiar.
You put that sticker on there, didn't you?
I love those stickers. I love those stickers. But when with all that going on, it's easy to be part of that group that's fussing and cussing and raising Cain with each other, isn't it? It's easy to flip that switch and be mad with them. But when you don't do it and you don't fall into that, you're peculiar. And I guarantee you that you could go through the day and 10 people say something snotty to you or act bad to you, and you don't return that favor, and you returned it in kind and being kind, or ignored it, or whatever. Most of those people, maybe not all of them, but most of those people that you saw that day that did that, they're going to remember that. I hope they do. I think God plants us in front of those people to show how peculiar we are. Does that make sense? I think He puts us there at the right time, at the right situation, at the right gas pump, or at the right, trying to find some canned peas. Man, I wanted to throw a fit, man. There wasn't no peas up there. Trappies. Only kind I buy, boy. They ain't got no trappy black-eyed peas. And I could have just raked the whole thing off the aisle up there. But there was people watching. And we were discussing it. And we could have, in that discussion, we could have all got angry because there wasn't no peas or there wasn't no yams or something. We could have all got mad. But a couple of us didn't get mad. A couple of us just said, oh, it'll be all right. We'll get them next time.
You didn't get value right?
No. Johnny Rice gets value right. Johnny Rice gets Kroger brand. Remember them big K cola shirts, big milk shirts he used to wear? Anyway, we're getting off topic. But we can be peculiar in all kinds of situations in a good way. I think y'all know what I'm talking about. I've told before, Mark and his job, he's around a bunch of peculiar people, right? He's around a bunch of people who have done some things. Got stories that whether they're true or not, they got stories, right? He could be such an influence. God has placed him there. I believe that. I've only known Mark a few weeks. 6, 8 weeks maybe? I've only known him that, but I feel it. But you don't have to be in his position to be a game changer for somebody else. Guys, you can do it. Well, you can start in your home.
The thing about, that's what Moses was telling his people, and the thing about sin, taking it back to sin, is like the devil is a master with like the smallest thing. We were talking about some sins earlier that are major stuff. What happens is that just the littlest part of that getting in there, it's like yeast, just a little tiny bit of yeast, and then before you know it, it's in the whole thing.
Yep.
And when we allow sin to stay in our lives, and we hold, in our life, and we hold on to that sin, it's going to come out when we're around these people.
That's right.
And they're not going to see that holy. We're going to get mad because everybody got mad. Because we have that little bit of sin that we just, see, the devil is a master in like the smallest things.
You bet.
He knows, and you just hold on to this, because let's face it, sin is pleasure, and it makes us feel good, no matter what it is, whether it's anger or pride, or, what it is, porn, it's all under the same envelope of sin.
Yeah.
And the devil is a master at it. So Moses told him, cut it down
Yep.
to the root. So you don't see any of it.
Yep.
And that's how we're different.
They are, and Jason, he tells them to get rid of those things, cut it down to the root, because he already knows that there are going to be other things take its place.
Of course.
You can get rid of all those temples and all those idols. These people were worshiping and having relations and sacrifices and things under the shade of a beautiful tree. He said, cut down the tree. Get rid of the tree. So not only is it not in front of you to see anymore, but it's not there for anybody else to see either. It's gone. Because I know, he knows and we all know that there's things that are going to creep back into our lives anyway, because the devil is a master. And if he can't use that, he's going to use this. And he's going to come for you. Every day. Every day. The last category was follow God-called leaders. We don't have a lot of time to go into that. The Lord thy God will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee out of thy brethren, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken. He's talking about Jesus Christ. He's talking to these people about something that's going to happen thousands of years later, hundreds of years later. One day he's going to raise up somebody. And he's going to be God called. And you're to follow him. Okay. Clay's in here, so we must be out of time.
No, I was just listen.
Okay.
Maybe another
Never mind.
7.5 minutes.
Really? I think these people probably want to go. These good Baptists want to run down there and find their chair. I appreciate y'all listening to me this morning. I appreciate the input. Even to the nods of the heads, I appreciate that more than you know. And I hope we got something out of this. But let's be peculiar. Let's strive to be peculiar. Let's be peculiar with our family. Let's be peculiar at our work, at the gas station, in the grocery store looking for Trappy's peas. Let's be peculiar at the softball games, at the restaurants. You know, people watch you when you come into the restaurant. They see you sit down, and do they see you bless that food before you? That's being peculiar, folks. And there's a lot of people in there who are Christian people who didn't do that. But they see you do it. And hopefully that spreads wherever you just left. Let's all stand.